Pontoon Jody. How about that? There's the link up there, Jody, if you want to get up here. It's been so long since I've done. Hey, John, Jimmy James Bailey, Rob Fox. Good evening to everybody. That's Kelly. There's a link up there if anybody wants to come up here. I guess it showed up. I'll put it again. In case it didn't. Oh, well, heck, Jody, I just hate 252. No, I still come around. I watch a lot of the stuff. I just comment every once in a while. I just slowed down on it since I can't fish anymore. I can't get back up the damn bank. It's just too steep. Let's see now. How did I do this? I forgot. There it is. Hey, girl. How you doing?
I'm doing even better now since you went live. I've missed you.
Well, I've been watching you fish on Friday nights, and I wish I could get out there and do it, but I just can't get back up that bank. You
Yeah.
know, when I come home, I have to take pain pills and sit around for an hour or two
Yeah.
and try to go to sleep. And it's just, I don't know, getting old as hell, you know.
Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about.
If I had a lake or something where I could just, go out on a pier or fish,
Yeah.
it would be fine. But heck, I sold all my damn fishing poles.
They.
Well, I kept one.
Yeah, you did give it up.
Well, I had to. I just,
Yeah.
you reach a point. My yard is sloped. That I live in a subdivision,
Yeah.
and the lots were built up and sloped, and my backyard slopes down to a ditch, drainage ditch.
Mm-hmm.
It ain't that big. It ain't. I mean, the lawnmower don't ever even change speeds, change sounds coming up the hill.
Yeah.
And I can walk down it fine. Walk down there and look at the flowers and chop around and all. But just walking back up to my house from down up that slope, that damn growing muscle starts hurting. I said, oh, God dang, I can't even walk any kind of slope. It just sets that thing off.
Yeah.
And
Slopes is hard.
huh?
Slopes is hard on you.
Yeah. And that riverbank is, man, that's a climb. That ain't a walk. That's a climb.
Yeah.
So I just said, well, it's time for me to give this up. But anyway, I've been fermenting food. I got a pretty garden going. Got my yard in shape. I've been metal detecting a little bit.
Really?
Well, that's flat ground.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do all right doing all that.
Hmm.
It's that incline that makes it tough. Man, yeah, I'm doing good, John. I'm knocking along. Hey, Tim. Yeah, doing good. Other than can't fish anymore. Y'all been having hell on Friday nights catching any fish, look like.
Tell me about it. I
I can't
suck.
I can't see hardly. I mean, I watch a couple of hours of it every night, and I just don't see y'all catching any fish.
I've only caught 93 fish this year.
Well,
Yep.
I don't know. I guess I don't know what happened. It weather screwed.
You know, I've not really been on my own boat much, but that's fixing to change. Fixing to start wearing them out.
Wearing them out. There you go.
I do better on my own boat.
Well, you know where everything is, and you're more comfortable. And
Hmm.
you're right. You can fish where you want to fish.
Yeah.
The captain of the boat is, you know, they know what's going on with themselves, so
Yeah.
they put it where they want to put it.
Hmm. I
Uh,
like anchor fishing better than dragging.
yeah. Hey, Lance. Yeah, I never did get into that. Well, in Mississippi River, it's you got to be. It costs a lot of money to do that on
Hmm.
the Mississippi because you got to have that high dollar trolling motor, and you don't need no high dollar graphics if you can read the water, but
Hmm.
it does. You got to have that trolling motor to hold you against that current.
Yeah. Well, you use so many rods while you're dragging and stuff too. And
Yeah.
I don't know. I just enjoy anchoring up.
Hey, Robert. Yeah, I do too. Yeah, I like anchoring. I mean, that's the way I did it. I always did it that way.
Yeah.
But my grandson and my son came and got the boat, and they got it in the shop down there, rebuilding the carburetors on it. So they gonna start doing some kind of fishing.
Yeah.
But they got to put a trolling motor on it because I sold a trolling motor in the dealership when they were setting it up for me. I
Mm-hmm.
sold. I thought didn't need a trolling motor. It's in the way of that anchor rope. So
Mm-hmm.
fella walked up. They were taking that trolling motor off. One of them. It didn't have spot lock and all that, but it was one of those big Minn Kotas.
Mm-hmm.
They were taking it off, and fellow walked in and said, "What y'all doing with that trolling motor? Getting another one?" I said, "No, they're gonna try to sell it for me and put it on the cost of this boat." He said, "What you want for it?" And I said, $300. I don't know what the damn thing was worth,
Yeah.
but he said, "Hold it, just hold it, just give me a few minutes." And it wasn't. He got in this truck and left, and it wasn't just a few minutes. He came, and I told him three $100 bills,
Yeah.
and he came back with them.
Wow. He must have really wanted it then.
Well, it's brand new, and it's foot control and had everything with it. So yeah, he came and got it. I mean, he left there with it. So they gonna pole fish. I mean, crappie and bass and all that. And you
Mm-hmm.
can't scull that big old boat. It's too big to scull with a paddle. They're gonna have to put a trolling motor on.
Yeah.
And my buddy's laying down back here somewhere.
I can't even see him. My vision's so blurry tonight.
Yeah, he's not even on the bed. I don't know. He was on his little tower back here for a long time.
Hmm. Has he been doing good?
Oh yeah, man. He's cutting up now. He's something. He ain't changed a bit. He's still my son. Both of my sons and their family came for Father's Day. That's the
Yeah.
first time. That's the first time that's ever happened. They must figure I'm finna play out.
Surely not.
That's what I told my wife. I said,
Yeah.
them two boys, they ain't never come to my house on Father's Day. It's hard enough to get them to come anytime,
Hmm.
but they both showed up, and I said they must figure I'm fixing to leave here, but I'm gonna fool them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I've been, I got into that. Yeah, yeah, that's it, right there. And look at the wrenches and the garden tools and everything. I got to see what they was gonna grab. Hey, Bug man, I got into that damn truck driving thing with.
Troy and Hogleg and them.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I tell you what, I started. I don't drive very much as much as I used to. I've
Yeah.
been right here, Tim. I mean a bug. I ain't been anywhere. I don't drive it as much as I used to, but I hired all women drivers,
Yeah.
and I need two more drivers. And there hadn't been a woman come up for hire in 2 months.
Wow.
And Charles Phillips, CP Chuck said, "You know why you can't hire no drivers? You already got them. I got 88 of them." He said, "You probably ain't got but 100 altogether.
Yeah.
And you got all of them but 12. And, or however many, yeah, 12.
Mhm.
But I hadn't been able to hire two drivers for that forever.
I'm glad you
No,
found something to
no,
pass your time and make you happy.
do what?
I'm glad you found something to pass your time and make you happy.
Oh, I tell you, I do. I love working in the yard, well, mowing the grass, having a pretty yard,
Mm-hmm.
and I got into that fermenting. You remember?
Mm-hmm.
And I was having to buy all my vegetables, and now my garden's coming in, and oh golly, I have fermented so much stuff, and good man, it's good. And listen now, I went from 288. Wait. I weigh 288 pounds. I'm at 215 now.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
Yeah, buddy.
Mm-hmm. That's
And,
great.
and one of my daughter-in-laws, she's into all that health stuff. She gets up and does yoga and does all that stuff in the mornings and everything. And she never had fermented anything except wine. So she came, this past weekend, and she wanted me to show her exactly how I do it. So we went to Walmart, and she bought us some jars and this and that and the other. And we came back home, and I pulled a half a gallon largemouth ball mason jar, holds from, depending on the size, from 8 to 12 Roma tomatoes. You know what I'm talking about, Romas?
Mm-hmm.
And so we're gonna do green ones, make pickle green ones, so to speak. And so I went out. I raised two Romas this year, and I've been putting up green tomatoes every 3 or 4 days. They just, man, them things make some tomatoes.
Yeah, they do.
And so I went out and picked 12, yeah, 12, and I pulled 4 cucumbers, a half a gallon of the big, and you let the cucumbers get kind of big,
Yeah.
and a half a gallon the whole 4 of them. That'd be 4 pounds of water and the cucumber. And so we made her a half a gallon of green tomatoes and a half a gallon of cucumbers. And we went through it real slow, step by step, and so that she could, see how I did it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the way I do it ain't the Bible, but it turns out pretty good because I followed stuff I learned on YouTube.
Yeah.
And so we made her those 2 half a gallons, and she sent me a picture this afternoon. Well, tonight, they got a big garden too. They lost most of it in the hailstorm,
Mm.
but they still got some stuff. But she sent me a picture of a half a gallon of cucumbers that she had put up
Mm-hmm.
this afternoon. It's real easy to do. It's just
Yeah.
just do it,
Mm-hmm.
And when we have extra stuff, Jay and I, we save all our plastic bags, from Walmart and Dollar General or wherever.
Yeah.
But when we have extra squash or zucchini or sometimes okra, lots of eggplants,
Yeah.
I take them and hang them on the mailbox. And we've got a neighborhood website that there a lot of people here in the neighborhood belong to. And Kate puts up there there's some fresh vegetables hanging on the mailbox at 1223 Oxford Place, and people stop and get that sack.
Yeah.
Yeah, they stop and get it. So I found out, I've noticed that if you hang them out at daylight or right after daylight, they're usually gone by 8 o'clock. But if you hang them out at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock in the morning, they stay there till 5 o'clock till people get off work.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't post anymore. I started this mess last year.
Yeah.
So we don't post anymore. But I just hang the stuff out there. The people have gotten where they look for it.
Yeah.
And so I hung them. And every once in a while I put a big old tomato in there, as a treat for somebody, a surprise.
Yeah.
So this morning I put a big old yellow zucchini and a nice eggplant and one big green tomato that was turning a little bit red. It stayed hanging out there all day long. And at 5:30, somebody got it.
Yeah.
It kind of tickles me that the original Quaker. It kind of tickles me to put that stuff out there.
Oh yeah.
And people post on the website, that they appreciate it, and it was good. It was really good, and this and that and the other. But we hardly ever post it as something out there anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, man, that fermented stuff is man, I'm hooked on it.
Yeah. Sounds like.
Yeah, I mean, I love it. It's just so good. I mean, I love that flavor. And some of the stuff I've raised a few jalapenos. In some of the jars, I put a couple of jalapenos in. One or two is about the heat range. I don't like it any hotter than that.
And when you pickle it, it's sour. It's not sweet, right?
No, it's fermenting is salt water.
Okay.
And that's all it is. I mean, it ain't no heating it up. You don't boil the jars. There's no heat involved. It's really easy to do.
Yeah.
And if you like pickles, let's see, pickles. That's the flavor that you get.
Yeah.
And then we got a herb garden, and we raise rosemary and thyme and oregano, and I plant basil all through my garden.
Yeah.
I got 10 or 12 basil all through my garden. I raised 4 dill plants in pots. You use dill in it, and you use a lot of garlic. Now, I don't raise garlic. I buy garlic. I ain't taking up no space because I ain't got a big garden. But I buy all the garlic. But if you like garlic, if I do some for somebody, I always ask them, do you like garlic? And if they say, I love garlic, well, I make it the way I make it for myself.
Yeah.
And it goes a half a gallon. You put 5 or 6 mashed up garlic pods in a half a gallon. It's pretty garlicky. But I like it,
I'm not a big fan of garlic. I like just a little bit of it.
Well, and then if I was to make you some, let's say, sauerkraut, I'd put 1 or 2 in a gallon.
Yeah.
Where for me, when I make a gallon of sauerkraut, I put 8 in there.
Wow.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
But I had lost down weight wise. I had lost down to 235. For some reason, I guess I was drinking that chelada. I quit drinking all that beer, the main thing.
Mm-hmm.
after I had that cancer surgery. And I had lost down to 235. Last January, that's what I weighed was 235. And I got started on that fermenting food, and I've lost another 20 pounds.
You can't beat that.
I know it, just eating that because it fills you up and it cleans your gut out so good that you digest all your food you digest all your food just really well, and it's good stuff, and it's good for you. It's really healthy,
Yeah.
but it takes a while for your body to adjust to it because
That's a
you,
big change.
huh?
That's a big change.
Yeah, when you putting all those probiotics in your
Mhm.
system, you got to be careful with it. Don't overdo it like I did. I overdid it.
Yeah.
I ate the first thing I made was a gallon of sauerkraut. It lasted about a week and a half. And I was getting a bowl of it, and I put pepper on it, just black pepper, and I can just sit there and eat as much of it as I can. I can eat it. I can eat it all day long. I can eat it 3 meals a day.
Yeah.
And oh golly, man, I shocked my system.
I bet.
Uh, one bite of that probiotic, one forkful of that sauerkraut has as much probiotics in it as a 300 pill bottle of probiotic pills.
Jeez.
One bite of it, and I was eating three or four bowls of it a day. Man, you talk about, oh golly. But Kay eats. I make her. She got a quart jar in the refrigerator, and she eats a bite every day. And she said it's made her feel a lot better.
That's good.
Yeah, yeah. I was sweating. I tell you what. She said I walked by her there in the kitchen one day, and she said, "God damn, you're gonna have to cut out eating all that damn garlic. You, you, you smell like an Italian restaurant." I was sick because I put all that garlic in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Steve, I want to jump down. My battery's going dead, and I have to get up and go to work in the morning.
Well, you got to go to work in the morning.
Yeah.
Are you still working in the same place, or you changed job?
I'm still working the same place.
Still in the same? Have you moved? You still in the same?
I relisted my house Friday, and somebody come and looked at it yesterday, but I've not heard from them.
Okay.
So maybe it'll sell here in this month or so.
Well, have you? You look like you moved a lot of furniture out of it.
I have. I've almost got it empty.
I got you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I appreciate you coming on.
Well, I'm glad to see you going live. I've been wondering about you.
No, I've been around. I've been on your show every night, every Friday. I watch a couple hours of it.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, I just don't say much.
I think I might be able on some fish this weekend. I hope so.
Well, I hope y'all catch some. I'll be watching.
All right. See you later.
All right. Bye bye.
Bye.
All right. Well, there you go. That was one visit. There's the link if anybody wants to come up here. Yeah. I've been gardening and fermenting and metal detecting and taking care of these cats. And that's about all I've been doing. Tupelo honey. Hmm. Yeah, my wife and My two daughter-in-laws and my granddaughter went to New York a couple of weeks ago for 3 or 4 days. Went up there and went to see the Broadway play and walk around. They both of the daughter-in-laws had these I don't know what they are, but something that can tell how much you walk and everything. And one of them had 39 3/4 miles on hers, and the other one had 40.1 miles on hers. And little Kate's same age I am. When she got home, when they got home, they got in. She got in the bed. She stayed in the bed for 3 or 4 days. What do you mean, Tim? To ferment? Ferment? I don't know what Tupelo honey is. Okay, Matt. Thank you for stopping in, bud. You talking about fermenting, Tim? Well, I can tell you what the best thing to start with. The best thing to start with is cabbage. Honey from Tupelo, Mississippi. Now, what's the difference in honey from Tupelo? Oh, yeah. Okay, Matt. Yeah, I saw you fishing on some river up there the other day. I watched a little of it. I don't know if you were live. Yeah, you were live. I watched it. Was that the Strawberry or one of those rivers? Tim, I tell you what, the fella that I watched to start with was a guy. Okay, it's a song. I don't guess I know it. I may have heard it before. The guy I watched to start with is a guy that goes by Black Gumbo Gardening or Black Gumbo Food. But if you YouTube search YouTube for Black Gumbo, he'll come up. I forget his name. Tom Heard, something like that. Anyway, he does oh no, not by Van Morrison. I've heard of that guy, but I don't listen to that kind of music. Black Gumbo something or other, but if you'll see it, and he does a real simple video on and easy to follow. Black Gumbo Southern Gardener, I think is the name of it, on how to do cabbage to make sauerkraut. And I'm telling you, it's good. And once you do one thing, and it turns out for you, then you start experimenting and doing other stuff. And that's the way I did it. It's about yeah, man. Well, that sauerkraut, that probiotics. Do you take probiotic pills, Tim? Has the doctor put you on pills? Well, I wish you lived closer. I'd make you some, but well, you of all people to know that good gut health. Good gut health is the bottom line to good health. The older you get, the more you need to be using this stuff. Yeah, you look at that video. You gotta get you some. You gotta get a big jug. If you, I make crowd a gallon at a time. Now you make it a half a gallon. Half a gallon about as small as you can go with it, unless you. Hey, Tinkerbell. unless you cook half a head, because half a gallon of whole will hold half a gallon jar will make a one head of cabbage will do a half a gallon. But listen to me now, Tim. Listen to what I'm fixing to tell you. If you don't want to go through the trouble of chopping up cabbage and all that, and I've done this for my daughter-in-law, and it turned out really good, she said, you go to the grocery store and get 3 pounds of cut up, chopped up slaw mix. You'll have carrots in it, red cabbage, green cabbage. Get 3 pounds, 3 bags. It comes in 1 pound bag. Get 3 bags of it. And instead of chopping up a head of cabbage and doing all that, follow the directions that Black Gumbo says for making sauerkraut. And you can make it in, you can do it in, it takes 30, and it takes 30 minutes, and 30 minutes. It's an hour and a half. You can make it in an hour and 40 minutes, and you got a half a gallon of sauerkraut making. That's the way I would do it if I was you. But you gotta, I'm gonna tell you about chopping cabbage. I hate it because I get cabbage. I get it up on the ceiling. Cabbage is a mess. I always chop my own, but now when I made some for my daughter-in-law at her house, we use slaw. We slaw mix because I didn't want to go down there and chop cabbage. It's a chore to do it for me. You core it out, get the outside leaves off. And you gotta weigh it. You gotta know what you got. You gotta know your weight of your cabbage. And I always weigh it after I core it and get the outside leaves. I weigh actually weigh what I'm gonna be using to ferment. I don't weigh the whole head of cabbage. I weigh it after I've got it cored. And but yeah, man, it's good for you, and it'll clean you out. It'll get your gut straightened out if it can be straightened out. Yeah, if you don't mind chopping the cabbage, I mean, I put it through a food processor. I core it. The last time I put up, I did 14 pounds of cabbage. Oh, God. It was 6 heads, I think. Or 5 heads. It was 5 heads. Yeah, I did 5 heads. I did 2 gallons. I did myself a gallon, and I made a gallon for my neighbor. And I, you can eat that sauerkraut after 6-7 days if you want to, because it's pretty well fermented after that many days. But I like to leave mine for 3 weeks or longer because I like that sour. I like it. The longer you leave it, the more sour it gets. That pickle taste, that good flavor that's on a Reuben sandwich, that good flavor that's on a hot dog and sauerkraut, and some chili. Lord have mercy. But I like it after 3 or 4 weeks. Yeah, my daughter-in-law, She started eating that slaw after 5 days. She loved it. My wife started eating her first batch after 7 days. But, I like to leave mine. I like to let mine ferment a good bit longer. Because the longer you leave it, the more sour it gets. And look, I got some pickles, cucumbers that I did, and they'll make you have a running fit. They so good. I got a half a gallon of them in the refrigerator now that I put up to stop the fermentation. And when you put it in the refrigerator, that stops the fermentation. It is what it is. That's what it's gonna be. And it's all I can do not to get up and go in there right now and get one of them pickles. Man, I love that stuff. Yeah, man. Green tomatoes are good. Green tomatoes are excellent. Red tomatoes are good. Use a lot of basil with red tomatoes. You put a lot of basil in there. And all I use is basil and garlic in most of the time. Now, sometimes I put rosemary and oregano and thyme, whatever you call it. But, yeah, it's good stuff. But, yeah, the cabbage, I make a mess. Oh, I make a mess. But you watch Black Gumbo and follow his directions. You got to get sea salt or salt. I use pink. All I can get here in Greenville that is pure salt, that don't have any additive, is pink Himalayan salt. All the sea salt in our stores here has anti-caking agents in it. And they say you don't want to use that. I use pink Himalayan salt. You use spring water. That bottled spring water. Don't use chlorinated water out of the tap and all that. But you read on the label on the salt, and if it says other ingredients, if it just says salt, that's what you want. If it says salt and some yellow agent to anti-caking, you don't want to use that. So they say, and I don't use it. So I can't say whether you can use it or not. I'm just following the directions that the YouTubers say. And you use spring water. Now with cabbage, you don't have to use water because it makes its own water as you knead it and mash it and go through that process that you go through. But yeah, it's easy to do. It's really, really easy. You got to be clean. You got to wash your hands. And I tell you what I've done. I bought a bottle of rubbing alcohol. And when I get ready to do this, I pour that whole bottle of rubbing alcohol in the jar. If I'm going to do 2 jars, I pour it in and slosh it all around real good. And then pour it in the other jar and slosh it all around. And I stick the knife down in there and rub it off. And the little container I put my garlic in, I pour a little garlic in it and pour it back in the jar. And then I take a little funnel that I got and I put back in the alcohol jar and I pour all my alcohol back in the jar and back in the bottle and save it. And then I wash all that stuff out really, really good until I can't smell alcohol anywhere. And I turn it upside down on a 4 or 5 what the hell am I trying to say? Not napkins, but paper towels. Yeah, turn it upside down and let the bottle, drain good and get all that chlorinated water out of there. and the knife and all, and keep it all sterilized. And the little bottle for the salt water, the little tray for saucer for the salt and all that. And you just got to keep it clean. That's all. It ain't no big deal. It ain't hard to do. All the vegetables, the tomatoes and all that, I just rinse them off, and with I use hot water. Yeah, I could make. I guess I don't know. I reckon I could ferment it and make sour mash if I had some corn. You got to get rid of that alcohol, though, because it'll kill everything. It won't let any ferment go on. All you'll have is a jar of nothing, really. But I wish more folks would get into it. It's that Charles C.P. been doing it forever. He's been making cabbage forever and ever and ever. But when I started back in January, I started going to the grocery store and buying a few vegetables and doing vegetables. And so he started doing some vegetables. He got a market up there somewhere close to Memphis that he could buy green tomatoes and cucumbers and all that fresh, really fresh, not grocery store fresh, but farmer's market fresh. And I don't know whether somebody got hydroponics or greenhouses or what, but anyway, his stuff was turning out a lot better than mine because I ain't no telling how old them pickles are, them cucumbers are up there in the grocery store. And the reason I know this is because I got pickles in there that's been fermenting for over 3 weeks, cucumbers off of my vines out here. And the jar I opened yesterday, day before yesterday, the jar I opened day before yesterday and put in the refrigerator to start eating on was just as crisp as when I cut them and put them in that jar. And the cucumbers you buy in the grocery store in the wintertime, you put them in there and they mushy. They taste good, but they mushy. You put a lot of bay leaves in cucumbers. That's what keeps them crispy. But those store-bought cucumbers in the wintertime, it don't make no difference how, what you do to them with bay leaves or what. They get mushy, and they get mushy in 4 or 5 days. And these that I raised and did from my garden, they just as crispy as they were when I cut them. They snap when you bite them. So, okay, Lance. Yeah, man. Thank you for stopping by, bud. I know you got to go to work. I hope your wife, everything goes good with that. Work on the boat. Oh, Lord. Yeah. Greenhouse tomatoes and greenhouse cucumbers and all that they don't taste as good as the ones you raise out there in the yard, but in the garden. But in the wintertime, if you can get them, they're a lot better than the produce you buy at the grocery store. That's I'm trying. I don't think I'm gonna do it or get it done, but I'm trying to put up enough pickles till I have enough to last until next year. But I don't see that happening because I don't have but 10 cucumber plants. And I got a little garden. I ain't got no big garden. And green tomatoes, I'm substituting that in there. So all the green tomatoes and the cucumbers, I might have enough of that pickle stuff to last. I don't know. Because at the end of the year here, I don't know about everywhere else, but at the end of the year here, all our tomato plants just put on tons and tons and tons of green tomatoes. And they've gotten to the point where the days are so short that they get pretty good size, but it takes them forever to get right. Well, right now the tomatoes I'm pulling off my vines are almost big as softball. And a couple of them probably are big as a softball. And but later in the year, when the days start getting shorter, the sunlight starts getting shorter, they'll load up with tomatoes. They'll just load up with the green tomatoes. Well, I'm gonna put all them in jars. So that's gonna be a bunch. That'll be a bunch of green tomatoes. But this stuff will last a couple of years. This fermented food, it lasts a couple of years. It's not like canning where it lasts forever, but it lasts a couple of years. Well, that's long enough. No. Now the Romas that and this is something I found out, and you listen to this, Tim. The Romas that I was buying in the grocery store, I was putting whole in half a gallon whole, like I said, 8 to 10, depending on the size. Then you put them in there tight as you can get them. You don't skin them or nothing. You just wash them. All right. So the first half a gallon I did, it was 9 tomatoes in the jar in a half a gallon. And it was 2 tomatoes out of those 9 that were so salty you couldn't eat them. It actually dried your mouth out when you took a bite of them. That's how much. Now, don't ask me why. And I've had that happen on 2 different half gallons. And this one was 2 tomatoes, and 1 half gallon, it was 1 tomato. That was just so salty you couldn't eat it. So I saved those 3 tomatoes, and when I made chili, I put them in, mashed them up good and put all that in the chili. Made chili with them and didn't put salt in the chili. It was fine. Because I'm kind of so tight, I squeak when I walk. And I wasn't going to throw them tomatoes away. I done bought them and processed them. Hell no, I wasn't going to throw them away. But the whole jar won't be salty. So what I started doing, I made 3 gallons. I made I made 6 half gallons of Romas. And I sliced them in half. And I went, instead of a 2.5% solution of salt, I put a 2% solution. I cut back on the salt because I figured them being sliced, they were going to absorb more salt. Well, hell, I had to put salt on them to eat them. So it wasn't a salty slice, it wasn't a salty half, and out of 6.5, out of 6 half gallons, it was not 1 salty half. Hey, Chucky, so these last batches I've been making, I went back to my 2.5% solution, and they're fine. I don't know what happened to those tomatoes back in the winter time. I don't have any idea. I've talked to people that ferment. Oh yeah, cherry tomatoes. Yeah, man. Well, look here, Tim. I don't know. I don't know how many cherry tomatoes. Now, you don't have to make a half a gallon. You can always make a quart, or you can make a pint. But just slice them in the middle. Just slice them long ways through the stem, that end. And ferment them. Man, yeah. That'd be good. I bet those cherry tomatoes. In fact, Chuck CP made some cherry tomatoes. I think last winter. He said they were good. Said they he did them whole though. He said they explode when you bite them, and when you bite them, they said they just whoosh, and they fuzz out. I mean, he said they were super good. But I didn't raise any. I didn't plant. I didn't plant one. Yeah, man, you can make a quart. So you gotta, you don't have to make a half a gallon. Heck yeah. Those little cherry tomatoes would be good. Then you can put you can put any kind of seasoning in there. Cilantro. You use cilantro, cumin. You can red pepper. You can put all kind of peppercorns. You can put all kind of stuff in there to flavor. It's no. It ain't rocket science. It's just do it. That's all. Try it. I don't know if y'all had that kind of stuff out west, but down here at the old country stores, we used to have country stores everywhere. And they had a full line of stuff. They actually were like general stores. They had wash tubs and clothes and all the groceries you could ever buy. Half a pig salted down. I mean, they had everything. And they would have a 5-gallon wooden keg with a cloth over the top of it, full of pickles. And you buy a pickle and a box, a thing of crackers. I don't know, 10 cents, I think. And he would reach in that jar and to move that cheesecloth back out of the way and had a pair of tongs, and he'd get you a pickle, put it in a brown sack, and you buy your little pack of crackers. Sit out on the front porch and eat them pickles, eat that pickle and them crackers. And hey, Stephen, those pickles, they had to be fermented. They had to be fermented. They were fermented pickles. Now, I think they were buying them. I don't think they're making them themselves. But I hadn't seen anything like that in forever. Well, ain't no more country store. No, we did all right. We had one little hailstorm. It knocked a hole in some of the squashy thing. But most of it was north or south. And look, Rolling Fork, that little town, there ain't no town there no more. That tornado, but that was back early. That's a couple of months ago. That's about as bad as I've ever seen. That's about 30 miles south of me, air mile. But now my son and his family up in Valonia, Arkansas, they had windows knocked out of their house. Friday morning, I think it was, or Thursday morning, destroyed his garden. They had hail bigger than tennis ball. And they got a metal roof on. They live in a log cabin type home with a metal roof on a green metal roof. And some of those hailstones hit the seams and knocked the damn nails out of this from up there. Then it looked like somebody was walking around with a big sledgehammer beating on it. Yeah, I know it. Yep, I know y'all. And look, Moss Point got hit, yesterday? Yeah, we've been lucky here. Cleveland, which is 30 miles north of me, they had one that's broken and trucks windows knocked out of vehicles from the hail. Sure did. Some of the school where my wife works had 61 windows broken. Little town called Arcola. It knocked 61 windows out of that school. Yeah, it's some bad hail in spots, and all the beans and corn around that town, boy, they look rough. Ain't a state bird flying around. Yeah, I guess all this stuff is moving out of Canada, and I don't know what that is, if it's El Nino or what the hell it is, but I guess that upper wind level is cold, and that's where all this hail is coming from. We've had more hail this year than we normally get. Hey, we get it, but not like it's been coming through this year. I just put a new roof on my house. It ain't been 2 years. And I put one of them, I forget what they call it, one of them $100 roofs. But that gum driveway back there was full of, got 3 inches of rain along with all that hail, and the driveway was full of the stuff off the roof. That hail beating on it and that rain washing it off. But now there was small hail. There wasn't a whole lot of it, but we had it twice. That hail good on okra though. Saved me from having to go out there and whoop it. Knock holes all in it. But that's good for okra. I reckon everybody knows about whooping okra with a switch. Make it produce. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I got 9 folks sitting around. Anybody else want to come up here? I'll put this thing back up here. I wish somebody would come up here. I'm running out of something to talk about. Yeah. The Mississippi. I don't even keep up with it. I don't know what the water level is. I know we hadn't had the bull gnats this year because we didn't have that extremely high water. And myself and a buddy down the street got Purple Martin houses. I guess y'all know what Purple Martins are. And I estimated that, hey, Jersey. Yeah, man. I estimated that the bull gnats was killing about 75% of the baby birds in the gourds and things. Well, John, my neighbor down there, he said I forgot how many nests he's got, but anyway, he's pulled 20 dead babies out of his boxes last year. 20. So that's a lot. And they've been bad every spring since 2008. And our martins have been getting fewer and fewer and fewer. Like last year, I don't think I have a full nest. And this year, I got eight or nine nests, and there's no bull gnats. And I've had a bunch of martins fledge already and fly away. But now that hailstorm knocked one of the fronts off of my house, and I reckon that little old baby bird must have got out there on the porches on those birdhouses and got hit because he was laying up there dead. After that last little round of hail, I reckon he got out there and hail hit him. I don't know. I didn't find any adults dead anywhere, or no other babies but him. But I guess if you was in it, I mean, if you was a little baby bird, I reckon that hell jump on you. Hey man, lucky ball. What's up? He come check on me. Yeah, Jersey, been a while. That I've been live anyway. That's Purple Martin's. That's Purple Martin's, bug. That's what I'm talking about. People, it's an old wives' tale that people say they eat mosquitoes. It's funny about what you've been told through the years about stuff. Yeah, it'd be deadly. Everybody said, put up Purple Mountain, they help with the mosquitoes. But damn, my Purple Martin don't eat mosquitoes. And how they gonna survive eating mosquitoes? They survive on dragonflies. And do you know what dragonflies' main source of food is? Mosquitoes. In fact, some people the nickname is mosquito hawks because you know what a dragonfly is. They eat mosquitoes, and the martins eat the dragonflies. That's all backwards. What people said, the old wives' tale. Because I don't know. The only reason I put the bird. Hey, Stephen. Oh, I got to add him to the stream. Hey, man.
How you doing, Coach?
All righty. The only reason I got birdhouse is because I like to watch them. It ain't because they get the mosquitoes.
Well, for mosquitoes, you need to build bat nest.
I had that, but I couldn't get any. I had it up for 7-8 years and never got a bats. So, never did. And I would see them in the street lights out here in front of the house, but they never would get in there. And so I gave it to my son that lives up in Bologna, Arkansas, and he put it up. He lives on 7 acres up on the side of one of them foothills of the Ozark, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And they got bats galore up there, but they still ain't gotten any up there. But I got a funny story about that bat house. All the time when I walk by, I get up there and I look up in that damn thing. And it's dark up in there, you know, but I can see up in there. And I looked up in there one day and I said, I believe there's a bat up in there. And my neighbor was over there beside his house, and he said, what you looking at? I said, I believe I got a bat up here in this bat house. He knew it was up there. So he came over there and looked. He said, I believe it's a bat. I believe you do have a bat. He said, let's get him and see what he does. And I said, man, I hate to get him. And it was my boat lady. He said, I'm going to see what he looks like. And so he got one of my fishing poles. And I stand. I didn't want him to do it, but it didn't make me no difference. I wanted to see the bat too. He reached over there and swatted that bat, and a damn red wasp's nest fell out of that damn bat house. And you talk about running, boy. It's about 20 wasps on that thing.
A few years ago, we were having wasp up in the attic. And I climbed up in there with some wasp and hornet spray. And there was a nest about 8 inches big around, full of wasps.
Oh, well. Yeah.
And that was one of the biggest wasp nests I've ever seen. I've seen some big ones, though.
Yeah, there's a wasp nest. They done taken over the bat house. But, yeah, Tim talking about, Bug talking about the bats at his house. Have you ever been to Carlsbad Cabins and seen the bats come out of there at night? Late in the evening? Oh, man, y'all see that. Whew. golly, I ain't never seen so many bats. And sometimes when they come out together from a distance, it looks like smoke coming out of there. So many of them. Hey, Troy.
About 11 years ago, I had been over to Shreveport, and on the way, it was in September that I had been there, and on the, they were burning the bean fields and cotton fields off after they harvested.
Yeah.
Had all that soot out there on the ground, and there was a extremely large whirlwind stationary in the middle of one of those fields, and you could see it from far off.
Yeah.
We thought they were burning it off until we got closer, and it was just that funnel going up. But it wasn't moving. It was just sucking up all that soot, though.
I'll be done.
For miles.
Yeah, I've seen them, especially in the spring when they burn off the wheat field, or in the fall when they cut it, they burn off these rice fields.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know if that was soybean or cotton or what they were burning. It wasn't rice, though.
They could have been burning. A lot of times they'll burn their corn. Burn up corn stalk. Yeah. Yeah, I think we did sit in the amphitheater. I don't know. With Tim, now look, this was in 1960. They probably changed a lot since I was there, but I sure saw all them bats. Man. We went all down in that tour car bed and ate lunch down there in the cafeteria underground, a mile or so. I don't know how deep that thing is, but golly, I know the elevator ride out of there took a while.
I went to Merrimack Caverns up in Missouri.
Yeah,
that's a pretty good sized place.
Heard of them. I've never been.
When you go up into it for a ways, there's a water hole in it, and the James Younger gang realized that you could go past the wall. You just go down a couple feet, and you could swim under the wall and come out the other side. And they would use that to escape from the
to get away
law after they would rob a bank.
Mm-hmm.
And just right beyond it was one of the most crystal clear creeks running through there that you've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
And had a fair amount of water running through it. But they said that, they had gone upstream and downstream until it got to where they couldn't crawl any farther.
Yeah.
And I forget how many miles they were able to travel each direction, but it's just an underground stream running through the mountain.
Yeah.
Crystal clear.
No, I've never been to. What's that one over in Tennessee? Mammoth Cave? Is it Mammoth? Mammoth? There's one over there in Tennessee or somewhere. I can't remember. I went down in here one time. My daughter-in-law did a lot of research on those caves in Missouri. The fish and all the reptiles that live down in them. It's fields up there. Is that in Kentucky? There's one of them up there somewhere I went through. There's a fish, a skunk. What the hell is the name? Skulkin? I think that's the name of how you say it, Skulkin. Sculkin, I believe. Skulkin. But anyway, that fish don't have any eyes. Those fish in those caves have evolved through the centuries, and they don't have eyes. They don't have any need for it. It's so dark they can't see anyway. And there, where the water runs out and seeps out and goes into, through the rocks and a little stream that's outside, going down through the mountains. there's the same fish there in that stream, and it's got eyes. And they're just a matter of feet apart, the water going through the rocks and down through there, making a mountain stream. And that same fish lives in that stream, but he got eyes because he's been outside. He ain't been in that cave. But his cousins that's in that cave, they don't have eyes.
Yeah,
that was kind of interesting to me.
I have seen stuff on nature programs about cave fish that didn't have eyes,
Mm-hmm.
or fish at the bottom of the Marianas Trench that don't have eyes.
Heck, I don't guess it.
Deep areas of the ocean where they don't get sunlight.
Yeah, they don't need them. They eventually, through years and centuries, they did away with them. Yeah. Oh, man, I'm yawning now.
Have you done any fishing?
No, I had to give it up, Stephen. I just can't get back up that bank without going home and having to take pain pills. So
Yeah.
I decided I was going to quit, and I sold all my stuff. I kept one pole. I figured if I want to go fishing during real high water, I can go and, when I park on the fish right there at the truck.
Yeah.
But I don't have anywhere around here to fish except the river. I mean, I can fish in the lake, I guess, but hell, that ain't no fun. I ain't never fished in dead water. So if I can't fish in the river, I don't guess I'm gonna fish. And there's just nowhere that, available to just walk out, like I see a lot of people doing, on flat ground.
Well, all you got to do is pay somebody to let you go fish their catfish pond. The farms up there.
No, man, I know enough guys. I wouldn't have to pay nobody nothing.
Go throw a hook in with a little bit of dog food on it.
Yeah, that's all. I got a buddy that he's got a 20-acre reservoir. Got it set up to irrigate, I think, 700 acres underground, and you can pump water in it and you can pump water out of it. And it's a river over there, and he got a canal dug from the river to his pond, and with a pump there, when the river's up, it fills that ditch up, and he fills his pond up, his reservoir. And
you know where the Twin Oaks WMA is?
This is where it is. Oh no, Twin Oaks. No, yeah, I know exactly where it is. Crosses on the Little Sunflower River.
Yeah, it borders the Little Sunflower on one side.
Yeah,
There was a catfish farm right next to the Sunflower. The Sunflower flooded one year, flooded the ponds. When the water went back down, the Little Sunflower was full of 1 to 2 pound catfish.
That's right. I know those.
And so everybody was going up to the Little Sunflower in the little John boats, loading up on channel cats.
Oh, heck yeah.
Filling the freezers.
Yes, indeed. They I'm trying. I know they're gonna board it on in ponds. I just can't even remember the name. I don't know him well. I almost call his name. But anyway, yeah, I had a camp right across the Little Sunflower River back in the 80s. And I was coon hunting in them days in Delta National, Delta National Park. And my dog crossed that Little Sunflower River one winter. It was in January. It was cold, good gracious. And she got after one of them old big male bull coons, and we kept up with her fairly close to where we could hear her every once in a while. And I told my son, it was what another man was, I said, she's going, and she headed straight to Little River. We called it Little River. And we had the compass on, and I said, man, she going to cross that river. Sure as hell she going to cross that river because the water was down pretty low. And sure enough, when we we couldn't hear her, and it kept going by the compass and going and going, and then I could hear her, and she was tree. I said, well, she's tree. And by the time we got there, I realized she was down under the hill. You know, Little River got pretty good banks on it, you know. And she was at the first tree on the other side over there. And there we were sitting there looking at the coon on the other side of the Little River. And she ain't going to come back. I mean, wasn't no chance.
The only thing you can do is cross that river to get her.
So we gathered up a bunch of firewood, and I stripped off down to my underwear and hung all my clothes on, stuck sticks up, and hung all my clothes up so I could get to them easy. And the man with us had on 2 or 3 damn T-shirts under him because it was cold, man. And I told Ed, I said, man, you're going to have to shed one of them shirts. I said, because I'm going to have something to sit down on when I get back up here and to dry off with. So he did, and I got out in barefooted. Golly, it was cold. And I had a sling on my rifle, and so I was able to wade that thing. It was a hard, sandy bottom, and that water got almost to my nose, and I was on my tiptoes. I got over there, and I was shaking. So, and the cuckleburs, golly, and that dog was barking. And I got over there and got up that bank, and got over there and got back off over there where I could see it. And I got Sis on the leash and chained her back away from the tree. I was shaking so bad from cold. And look, I shot that coon right between the eyes with the first shot. He fell out. And I grabbed that coon by the back legs and had her on the leash. And she was a 65-pound dog. And of course, she wasn't lunging at the coon. And I had to go back across that river with that dog and that coon and that rifle. Golly. And in my underwear.
I had a long-legged feist that loved water. And I would take him out squirrel hunting, and it would be in the 20s. The ground would be frozen, and he'd get into a creek and lay down in it and play.
No. Well, that's...
He never got sick, though. I mean, he'd be in that cold water. And then get out, shake it off, and run, and go hunt some more.
Well, I raised this dog I bought her in Evansville, Indiana. She was shipped to me, airplane, when she was 8 weeks old. And I raised her. I trained her with just me and her. My good dog got ran over when she was 6 months old. So that left me with her. And she and I spent many an hour in the woods together, walking, you know, until she started hunting and doing all and chasing deer and possums and armadillos, and me and her'd have fights down there in the woods over all that stuff. But I found out one thing about her by the time she was a year old, that if there was a body of water, and she was a big walker dog, if there was a body of water within a half mile of that truck, she was going to cross it. That was just the way she did. She always thought it was better on the other side. And we got to where me and my sons or 2 or 3 other guys I hunted with, when we would go to certain places, we would turn out. One of us would get on the other side of the lake or the river. And just by itself, just be walking without no dog in there, just to keep us. And then she'd hunt one side of the river for a while, and then get on the other side, a tree on the other side. And well, we had somebody over there. So, and then she'd hunt down that side a while, and then be back on this side. She, not the Mississippi River down, but these small rivers. She was gonna cross that water. It just didn't make no difference.
Yeah, my grandson is he'll be 18 months in a week. And I've been thinking if he's got the interest in it, once he gets about 9 or 10 years old, I want to buy me a black and tan Jeep to hunt
Yeah.
with. Because they live right over on the other side of Alabama next to the Talladega National Forest.
Oh
You
yeah.
have land to go in there and hunt.
Mm-hmm.
So long as my knees hold out to climb them hills.
Yeah, I tell you that coon hunting. Ooh man, I used to love it. Golly. I
Well, I
hunted.
love hearing a pack of dogs run.
Yeah. In 1978, I hunted 269 nights. Now I didn't shoot them in the summertime or out of season, but
Yeah.
I ran my dogs 269 nights, and I've forgotten how many. I had it all written down how many trees I made, how many coons I saw. And I know we killed 151 that year. Me and
You
I had,
selling hides or just eating them?
sold them meat too. Yeah. Okay, Tim. Thank you for stopping by, bud. Yeah, they were bringing good money back in 78. We sold them to a fellow, P-Row Fur Company in Ball Knob, Arkansas. They came down and to my house. I lived down on Delta Pine Land. I managed a farm for them. And I don't know how I got in touch with those people. Or they got in touch with somebody. I don't know. But anyway, they came to my house.
Tim, you
Yeah.
take care.
And they bought those. Yeah, thank you, Tim. Good to talk to you. They bought those hides by the tail. They wanted them rolled up tight, and they bought them by the tail. They didn't grade them. They didn't do nothing. They bought them by. They gave me $13.50 a tail, and we sold them. I don't know, 80, I guess, maybe 80 something. My buddy and I, but there was a lot of other people brought that. Back in those days, there was a lot of hunters around and some trappers. And then they all brought hides there. I don't know. Okay, bud. All right. See you later. But yeah, I don't know. They must have bought 600-700 hides. Well, they wasn't just coons though. They bought fox and bobcats and otters, and they bought some everything. But they didn't come through but that one year.
I tell you, you're lucky if you see an otter.
Oh man, we got them everywhere now.
Really?
Yeah, the river's full of them. Yeah, that's why that reservoir I was telling you about.
Mm-hmm.
It's on the Sunflower River, real close, within a half mile. That's where they get the water out of. I forgot you know about all that. Yeah, muskrats. But that damn thing, I used to could go out there with a little fishing pole and a piece of chicken liver and or beef cubes, little small cubes of beef. And I catch 3 bullheads to a cube. And I could catch 10 bullheads in 30 minutes. Then the next year was slower. And then last year, I caught 2 bullheads. And I told Terry to board it on to us. And he crappie fished in there. He got mats laid around the bank. We need to walk around the bank picking good crappie up. And it's full of shad. You can see them out there. And he said he couldn't catch no crappie. Well, the last time I was out there, there was a whole family of otters out there in that thing. I called him and told him, I said, man, that thing's full of otters. That's where all our fish went. And sure enough, he got a trapper in there last winter. I think he caught 9 otters out of that reservoir. But
Good meeting. I've seen them at the Ross Burnett down below me in Simpson County Lake. I've seen them there. and in front of where my daddy's brother used to live was a old farm pond, but the farm had grown over, the fields had grown over, and there were some otters down in that pond, and there was a creek that run next to it.
Right. They go over in there to feed. Oh man, I see when I was fishing on the river here last 2013, 2012, 2011. That was one place I could sit over there in the shade. That's prerequisite in the summertime in shade.
Mm-hmm.
You can tie up or be that close flathead fishing. And any time I was over, I'd see at least 6, 7 otters.
I think I saw an otter down below the mouth of Yucatan Ditch one time.
Oh, I'm sure you did. Yeah. Hey, you talking about the mouth of Yucatan? You know, when right down below Yucatan is some. I don't know if they're still there or not, but there was some dead stick-ups out there in the water. You know what I'm talking about? Dead trees. Huh?
You can catch flatheads all around there.
Oh boy, that's a good flathead spot. Yeah, I was gonna tell you that. You already know it though. Yeah, that's a good flathead though. You can catch them on a float. You don't have to put them on the bottom. You can catch them on a float. I caught quite a few flatheads out of them. I guess them old dead trees still there.
Yeah, you can see a few of them sticking up. If the water gets down below the dike, you can see a few of them sticking up.
Yeah. But see, when I fished it, I don't remember the water level, but the 2 or 3 years that I fished it, they were tall. They was just dead, but they were pretty tall. I guess it probably got knocked over and everything, or rotted off and fell in. But yeah, man.
I was fishing there one time, and we had run up on the bank and tied off and was casting out over there. And for about an hour, every time a barge would come through, would catch about 2 flatheads between 2 and 10 pounds. Yeah. I don't think we caught one bigger than 10. I don't think we caught one smaller than 2. Good eater size fish.
Yeah. That's a good hole. They like that spot. Seemed like, if I remember correctly, mud bottom. I believe it was mud. Well, it's been a long time ago.
But the last time I went there, wasn't nothing but gar in it.
Was the water down or up?
It was up. It was the wing dikes were just getting exposed.
Okay.
Now the very next wing dike down from it, we went in behind there where the water was running behind that island, and the big gar were in there, and I hooked several big ones, but wasn't able to land them. But I hooked into one, and it took off and never stopped.
Wait, alligator gar?
The one that I got up to the bank was an alligator gar. The several others there, I couldn't do anything with them.
That's probably all of them were alligator gar. They making a comeback in the Mississippi, in the river. And the commercial fishermen tell me it's because of the silver carp.
Quite possibly.
That's their main food source right now. And they are making a big comeback because they got so much to eat. They catch them in their nets. I got one buddy that had one get in one of the gill nets. Not gill nets, hoop nets. And the fish didn't even fit. His tail was sticking out. He said, I don't know what that thing would have weighed. It took about an hour to get him out of his trap and turn him loose. He didn't want it.
Do you remember 10 or 15 years ago, may have been more, closer to 20 years ago, a guy caught about an 8.5 footer down there. By the time they got to it, it was dead, but they caught it in a net.
At Eagle Lake, wasn't it? Or one of those. It was Eagle or Albemarle or one of those lakes.
I was thinking it was in the Mississippi, but it could have been one of the Oxbows.
Yeah, it was Albemarle or it's Eagle
Showtime.
Albemarle
Showtime.
Showtime. It's one of those three. Yeah, yeah, you caught him in one of his nets. I forget what the thing was, 268 pounds or something like that.
Something.
It was way out of there. Big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, in the mid 90s, there was a guy bow fishing. I think it was Eagle Lake, and he shot a big one. But he had been shooting smaller gar with his bow and had the drag tightened down on it. So when he shot it, he had it strapped to his arm, and the fish took off, and he said it drug him through every snake infested area of the lake. And finally it stopped, and he stood up in about 4 feet of water and hit the release on the reel and was able to get out of the water and get to where he could reel them in. And he was, I don't remember how big.
My oldest son, he's an authority on alligator gar. He's written a bunch of papers on. He's when you research alligator gar on Google, and his name gonna come up. Dr. Reed Adams. He's written a bunch of papers on them. He caught a bunch of them. He got interested in them things when he was a young boy. We caught one on the White River on a little old 6-hook trot line, throw line. He was little, and I don't know. I was in my 20s, and I couldn't get that fish in the boat. I couldn't get him over the side of the boat. I put gloves on. I mean, I wasn't strong enough to get him in the boat. I don't know how big that damn thing was. He was that fish was well over half. I had a 14-foot Monarch river boat, 14 and a half foot, and he was well over half the length of that boat. And that was the only measurement we could take on him. I can't remember. 7 feet 12 inches, 7 feet 10 inches. We marked it on the side of the boat, and I measured when I got home. But anyway, I finally had to just cut the string out of the line right at the hook and left the hook in him. I couldn't do nothing with him. I couldn't pick him up. I don't know how big that damn fish was.
Yeah.
And,
I knew a guy who said he used to fish down on the south end of the Pearl River in a 12-foot John boat. And he said they would see alligator gar down there, back in the 60s, early 70s, that would be nearly as big as their John boat.
Oh, yeah. Hey, Melissa. Well, listen, now, I spent a lot of time on White River in Arkansas. It runs in at Rosedale or thereabouts. And 8 miles up to White, 18 miles up the White River, there's a bayou that dumps into the White River called Bayou LeGroux. All right, and it's Bayou LeGroux from the boat ramp at LeGroux to DeWitt, Arkansas is probably 24, 25 miles. All right, they used to have in July, I think they had, I wasn't there but one time when it happened. And I was always up there on July the 4th. So maybe this was either before the 4th or after the 4th when they had this thing. They had a gar rodeo. And the town of DeWitt would separate their garbage. They had a little old dump truck, and all of the stuff from the cafes there in DeWitt and around, it smelled like hell. Now I'm gonna tell you, it was rough. But they would bring it was lettuce and cabbage and bacon and fish, meat bones and all kind of garbage, but it was all edible stuff. And they dump it in the mouth of LeGrew. There's a big old eddy there. I don't know, that eddy must have been 7-8 acres, so it's still there. And they dump all back down that boat ramp and dump that stuff in the water with that little dump truck. And they did it for about a week. And you couldn't hardly stay around there. It smelled so bad. But that water, it would just circle. And you could see the big old guy out there rolling in that stuff, eating. And they had 3 categories. One of them was with a hook, pole and a hook. One was with a bow and arrow. And I can't remember I never have been able to remember what that third one was.
Probably trot line.
No, they didn't do it. Maybe they did have a float line or a jug line or something like that. Maybe one of them was they let a jug float around with a hook on. But anyway, and they had a big prize for all 3 of the biggest gar, caught during this day long event. And there's a campground right there. In those days, they called this place Jack's Bay. And there was a campground right there. And we always boated up there and would spend the weekend or spend the 3, 4, 5 days in the camper. It didn't have electricity, it had a bathroom, and that was it. It didn't have no electricity. We carried little generators in the boat, little Honda generators where we have fans and stuff. But this particular year that we were there, they were having that rodeo while we were there. And we couldn't even get in the campground. We had to sleep. We had to camp on a sandbar up the river a little way. But we went back down there to this thing to watch them. And Lord, I said they caught some big gar out of that river. I mean, monsters. And they were all alligator gar. There wasn't no long nose, none of that. Hey, Mark,
Melissa, how are you doing?
let me put this link
Mark, how's
up.
that boat treating you?
Man, he likes that new boat. He got a nice rig too, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I watched him fishing the other night. Yeah, he got a nice rig. Yeah, but the alligator gar went by the wayside for a while, but now they're making a comeback. And that's good because we don't need to take them things, leave them in the water. They ain't hurting nothing. But did you ever heard me tell that story about my son netting all those alligator gar? He called me and he's at the University of Central Arkansas up there at Conway. And he got a grant to do some more gar studies. So the fella that is over maintenance there at the university, they got to be buddies. And this guy bow hunts, bow fishes. And he was telling Reed, he brought Reed a alligator gar that was 6 feet long. He done killed with this bow and arrow, and we carried it to Vicksburg to get it stuck.
I think my dogs need to go to the bathroom. I'll be back in a minute.
All right, well, I'm going to go and tell this story.
All right, you go ahead and tell it.
Well, anyway, Reed called me and said that he had gone on this tributary up there of the Arkansas River, and he had found a hole in the curve of this little old tributary that was full of big old fish laying on the bottom, and he found them with his depth finder. And he was going to catch them. He had the money. He had all the money and everything to tag these fish, put tracking, what do you call them, transmitters on, what was it, 15? It was 15. He had the money and had 15 transmitters And he was wondering how he was going to catch them. And now this little old tributary ain't but 40, 50 feet wide. I mean, yards wide. It ain't very wide. It's slow current, if any current at all. And the thing averages about 8 feet deep, and this hole, this curve in the river is 25 to 30 feet deep, and it's full of, it said, it looked like logs laying down there. And it's a couple hundred yards long all the way around that bend in the river. And he said, oh, how am I going to catch them? And he got gill nets and all that. I said, well, the way I would do it is I'd go down there and downstream of this hole, and I stretch me a gill net across that river and sink it down a little bit off the bottom. And I go upstream of this hole, and I stretch me another one across the river up there and up above it. And I put me a boat in between them nets and drag a chain around, drag a chain up and down through there over a big old long rope. I said, and that's going to make them, if that's God, it's going to make them run. They're going to take off. Anyway, there was 2 boats of them. Him and some of his, another doctor, another PhD, and some of his graduate students for that. And they had their 15 transmitters, and they had all, they going to pull blood samples and measure if they caught any. Well, the net that was downstream, they floated it right at the top. So the water was shallow. On the bottom end, it was pretty shallow. And they figured that's the way the fish was gonna run if they were alligator gar. Reed said they put that boat over there, little 9.5 Johnson or whatever it was on there, and they drug that thing through there. He said, and that net downstream sunk. And they went down there and pulled that thing up, and he said the smallest one in there was 4 feet long, and they had one that was 7 feet long. But they had to pull that net and get it up and tie it to them boats to get it. I mean, that's actually how many alligator gar they caught. And they sampled, they put the 15 transmitters on 15 fish, and they sampled like 25 or 30 fish, getting blood tests and measuring and all. And then they had to just get the rest of them out of the net and let them go. But he said it must have caught 40, 45. I mean, it caught, it was 2 boats, and everybody was steady turning them loose. Well, they put those transmitters on 15 fish. And and they tracked them, that transmitter, what do they last? 2 years? Is that what it is? 24 months? The battery, the life on them? I think 24 months. I believe that's right. And the furthest one of them fish went from that hole in 24 months was 800 yards. That was the furthest that any of those fish traveled from that hole that they caught them in. 800 yards. Hey, man.
For them.
Hey, pup. Oh, he likes that. That dog looks like he got a little age on her.
She's 9.
Yeah, I can tell. Look at that face.
She's a halfway decent squirrel dog. She won't let you starve to death, but she wouldn't win any competition.
Oh, yeah. That's good meat, dog. That's fine. That's fun. And that's fun, too. Yeah, Charles got him a squirrel dog. CP. I forget what kind of dog that is. Little bitty dog.
Little bench leg feist?
Huh?
Is it a bench leg feist?
I don't know if it's feist. I think it's some kind of little cur. I can't remember. I can't remember what kind of dog it is. believe it's a little some kind of cur. I don't remember. I don't want to tell a lie.
You have to get
Well, look here. I guess it's time for me to get off of here. I don't know. We got 10 folks. I wonder if anybody else wants to come up here. I thought maybe Mark would come up here. He got back problem.
Yeah, I need to get me a little bit of rest.
Yeah, I'm gonna put up some more green tomatoes tomorrow, I think.
I didn't plant anything this year. I didn't do anything last year with Daddy being sick, and
Yeah.
this year a lot going on, and I just didn't even worry about gardening.
Well, how come you ain't working?
This is my night off.
Laid off?
No, this is my night off.
Oh, your night off. Okay, I got you. I got you. Tuesday night, that's kind of strange to be off in the middle of the week. But how many days off you get?
In a 2-week span, I work 7 nights.
Okay.
We do 12-hour shifts with it.
Okay.
So I actually do 36 hours one week and 48 the next.
Okay. Lucky. Hey, what are you doing? I hear you in there cutting up. You bothering Mama Kitty? Huh? Crazy cat. Yeah, there he is. There he is, Melissa.
I've got a cat that's nearly a year older than that dog. And when they go to cat heaven and dog heaven, I'm not going to have one for a while.
Well, I wasn't ever going to get another one. No animals. And you know the story on these two we got. Listen here, Kate found him in the middle of the street. And he was just a handful at that time. He wasn't even a handful. He didn't give up. He wasn't going no further. Somebody run over me because I didn't had I don't guess he fell out of a vehicle.
Yeah, but the summer between my son's junior and senior year, he brought home a cat. His friend's mama had a cat that had a litter, and one of them was runted, and she raised it with a bottle, and it was, I don't know, about 4 months old when he brought it home, and it was about the size of an 8-week-old cat.
Mm-hmm.
And she had to keep it on a bottle for a long time before it got to where it was big enough to eat on its own. And once it got to where it was eating good, he brought it home. And then the next year he left for college and left me with a cat.
Oh, okay. Well, he was just but he ate solid food right off the get go. Dry food. We feed them at I don't know. It's high dollar stuff. It's about $60 a bag, but they won't. Neither one of those cats will eat like tuna, anything like that. Now, Mama Kitty will eat barbecue potato chips, or one or two. But
Daddy brought home a calico cat from his mama's. It was one that just showed up. I don't know if it was from a litter the mama cat had or not, but that thing would eat ketchup.
Oh yeah.
I mean, she was a couple years old before she got to where she wouldn't eat ketchup.
Yeah, we've had a bunch of pets through the years, but Kate, I guess the first, I can't remember. I believe she lived to be 19. Trissy, that was her name. She just old gray cat, regular old cat. But she loved French cut green beans. And Kay, we used to cook them all the time. And Kay would always put some on a plate for her, and Prissy would eat French cut green beans. And when you were sitting there eating them at the table, she would stand up and put her paws on you, and she'd want you to get one of them that's been cooked. And every year at Christmas, we had little stockings for the boys, and we had a Cocker Spaniel too along in that time, and I forgot what the Cocker Spaniel would get in his bag in his stocking, but Prissy always got a can of French cut green beans. That damn cat would eat them things and just gobble them. I mean, just eat and eat and eat. She loved it.
Mama had a little mixed breed dog, and if Mama had something on her plate, the dog would eat it. It didn't matter if it was turnips or cabbage or collard greens. The dog would eat it as long as it was on her mama's plate.
As long as she was eating. No, we eat. Yeah, Mama Kitty will eat. She might take a bite of hamburger or something like that, a little piece of hamburger meat, or a little piece of salami. But this one here he don't. Now he'll eat those treats, them little greenish, they call them those treats. But far as any other kind of food, he won't eat it. He just he doesn't eat it. He eats that old dry cat food. But it's high dollar. I'm telling you that. That costs a lot of money. But that cat has gotten pretty big. I mean, he weighs over 20 pounds now.
Now, when I was raising chickens, I had known for a long time that the coons were getting in and eating my chicken food out of the shed. But I went down there one night, and the biggest coon I'd ever seen in my life come out of there. And
he wasn't clucking.
Butterball fat from eating chicken feed.
Yeah. He wasn't clucking, was he?
No, he wasn't clucking. But that son of a gun, he was absolutely eating chicken feed. Oh, high protein layer pellets.
Oh yeah. Yeah. We this other cat we got when she was outside cat, she just came up over here when she was a kid. She's just a few months older than Lucky. And I was feeding her outside. I had her a water bowl and a little feed bowl, and every evening I put food out there. And I noticed that every evening when I put food out there, she just gobbled on it. She was like she ain't had nothing to eat in a week. And I told Kay, I said, I wonder if, and we always call her Mama Kitty because she was a little female. I said, I wonder if she got anything else eating that food. But anyway, I started putting some food out in the morning too. And she'd gobble on it. And then in the evening, she'd gobble on it. So I put a game camera. I bought a game camera and put it out there on the carport on that food bowl. And the first night, there was 3 tomcats, 2 possums. It was 3 tomcats and 2 possums come up and they ate all the food. So whatever she got when I set it out, that's all she got. And that's the reason she was so hungry. And eventually I had, one night I had 5 possums. I had 5 possums, 3 skunks. I've forgotten how many cats. Way more than 3 of them. But I had a whole menagerie of stuff up under my carport every night. So she had a litter of kittens. One of them lived. I had it in the house with Lucky, trying to have him some company. Well, the little kitten swallowed some tinfoil off of Hershey Kisses. And it's gonna cost $1,100 to get it operated on and all. I said, no, I can't hardly swing that for this little cat. So I had to put it to sleep. And then we brought Mama Kitty in the house and made her an indoor outdoor cat. Now that cut down on the feed bill quite a bit when I quit feeding her outside. Because golly, man, I had a live trap out there and I was catching a cat at night. I wasn't hurting them. I wasn't doing nothing to them. I just catch them and shake them. Maybe I might squirt them with a water hose or something, try to get them to stay away from around here. But I didn't do nothing with them but turn them loose. And then the possums, I didn't know any better then. I was carrying the possums over on the levee and turning them loose. And then I got to hearing about possums eating up all them snakes. So I started turning the possums loose. But I caught 5 in a row. I caught 5 possums in 5 nights. And hell, I live in town. And I got my trap out there now because they coons come and get in my bird feeder, eat all my sunflower seed. And I set my trap the other night, and I caught a little old possum. It wasn't even a handful. And then I just turned him loose, and I set it again, and it caught him the next night. Caught him 2 nights in a row. And now I got it set, and he won't go in the trap no more. He finally learned.
The first squirrel dog I got was a 2-year-old male, and he liked to eat leisurely. He didn't want to be rushed. He'd nibble on it a little here and there. And then I got a year-old female, and she was food aggressive. She gobbled down everything you'd give her as fast as she could, and then she'd run over and want to eat his. And being food aggressive, she'd snap at him and growl at him. And finally, he got to where he would rush over and eat it about as fast as she would, and she would still want to run over and run him off from his. And I went out there and fed one day, and she wouldn't run up and eat. And he stood there, and he turned his head and looked over at her, and she cowered down and walked away. So I figured he must have got tired of her crap and whipped the stuffings out of her pretty good.
Yeah, sounded like he was raised on an automatic feeder.
Probably.
Yeah, I had all my dogs on automatic feeders when I was coon hunting. Some people say that you need to handle a dog and be around them a lot, but hell, it's right there in my yard, so I was always around. And I let them out in the yard. I had electric fences around my garden to keep them out of my yard because they're going to run a rip a little bit.
Yeah, and I never had a problem with that Jip wanting to eat too fast after that. She got to where she'd come up and eat, but and she would just leisurely eat, and he would look at her, and she'd back away from it.
Yeah, he finally showed her who was boss.
Right.
All right, man, I think I'm finna hit the sack.
All right, well, you take care. It was nice seeing you again.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming up, Stephen.
All right, you have a good night.
Good luck with you, squirrel dog. All right, y'all. I'm fixing to call it off. I think I'm going to bed. I need to shave. Well, damn, I look rough. All right, Melissa, Mark, whoever else I don't see in here. That's the only 2 I see. Appreciate y'all stopping by, and y'all have a good one. See y'all later. Well, I guess I'm going to get out of here. Yeah, there it is. I guess there it is. There it is.